in a good way for you, I have made a change to the time frame for the project because obviously we didn't kick it off immediately after Golden Week, so we dragged on a bit. So we've lost about a week. So instead of it having been made due on 23rd of June, I've made it due easier to remember on the 4th of July. Okay. So if anyone's having American style 4th of July celebrations, please plan to finish it on the 3rd of July, or at very least take fulsome advantage of the time differences between the US and Japan. Okay, so 4th of July, and actually the way that worked out, I was interrogating my former self why I actually settled on the 23rd of June in the first place. That actually gave us a considerable advantage in terms of the number of face-to-face and then Zoom kind of drop-in sessions. So I'll just briefly show that here, just a change in the schedule. You can all download it yourself. There's a big revise written in the title of the file here. Now, actually, this week the change was already it was already a Zoom session, and then I said last week because we went to Zoom that I turned it into face-to-face. So we're actually, obviously back to Zoom. But the difference is I'm actually going to give you some lecture content as well. I was originally intending to just use some third-party video and do one more short to camera piece that spoke to the stuff that isn't covered in the 2 videos already up there. But insanely busy the last couple of days, and I'll talk about why in a moment because it is very relevant to some of you with study abroad. Okay, but speak to this first. And so we're Zoom today, and for content and interactive, you've got the project description now, and if you've had a chance to look through it, you can ask me some questions. Next week, we'll do the face-to-face drop-in session. There's a lot of material for finance there, so the entire course, the content, the lecture content, as per the slides, are all covered by the video on demand material that I made this time last year. And don't get lazy and just look at the slides, because there are additional points that I explain that are in the video material as well. And you see that issues this week and next week very much go hand in hand, so they flow into each other. Particularly the issues in relation to risk and uncertainty and decision making, and particularly when we think about risk and the key notion of kind of probability. So statistical measures of the likelihood of or unlikelihood of something happening is absolutely critical to finance. Information is part of that story, but also information is much bigger than that. And so the 2 videos you got there that I made myself, speaking very explicitly to this key feature of markets where we have information asymmetry. And that issue comes up repeatedly when we talk about pricing, but particularly tactics and negotiation. Critical thing, of course, is that the parties have different information. And so how you manage that, there are plenty of situations where you can take advantage of people because of information asymmetry. What's really interesting is from both a governance point of view and from a recent entrepreneurship, disruptive business transformation perspective, we see lots of creative entrepreneurial market-based solutions to informational problems. In a governance sense, also public sector driven solutions. So laws and regulations that require companies to release financial information. That's very much the case if a company is a publicly listed company. They've got a George Saratero, public, as in, the shares are traded publicly on the stock market. So in that situation, companies are required to release lots of information to protect investors. That also means when you're job hunting, by the way, if you're applying to a company, going for an interview, for example, which is a publicly listed company, it gives you a certain advantage because you can go to their websites, go to their investor page, and you can gain lots of information about the firm, and typically different parts of the business and their degree of profitability, which has got growth prospects, which is losing money. All of those things can be very powerful, both in terms of arming you with a story when you go for interview, but also equally importantly, if you get an IT, deciding whether you actually want to go to that company, particularly depending on the area they want to put you into. So a lot of that information disclosure comes about because governments require it, although the stock market in many countries has been a private institution. So actually a condition of being on the stock market, listed on the stock market, is that you put various information out there. Then, of course, there's a whole category of innovative businesses which overcome information problems. I'll speak to that in a moment. Many of the businesses that most gain our attention these days are really about connecting buyers and sellers in new ways. And this really dramatically increases market discipline. So if you book a hotel through booking.com, for example, and the review function, or any kind of site that connects a buyer and a seller and allows the sellers to rate the buyers, for example, and yes, that is happening, that is with Uber as well as the other way around, can improve the standards of behavior of certainly of the sellers we tend to think of, but of the buyers as well. And Uber, for example, has very strict policies in terms of customers. They will ban customers for any kind of, sexist and racist abuse of drivers. For example, you can get pretty easily kind of black banned as a customer if you're obnoxious on Uber. So arguably a lot of these kind of entrepreneurial market-based responses to information asymmetry will create disciplines for people to be better behaved. Okay. It can go totalitarian when the state starts to use these tools. There's big discussions in and about China now with the social credit system and whether that goes too far in terms of controls over individuals. The uncertainty and risk topic, I've added 4 videos about 3 very famous people. Excuse me. Who calls? Who does? Wow, how quaint. My phone is ringing. I think it's the first time it's happened in a year. Okay, how to deal with old style communications. Unplug it. Bye-bye. If it's important, they'll send me an email or they'll send gangsters to get the money. Ha, no. I am pathologically averse to getting into debt, even to banks, let alone criminal gangs. Okay, excuse me. Which is actually not rational to be averse to getting into debt. Actually, now it's really quite bizarre. Collectively, the financial system is kind of giving money away to people. So you just have to be very careful that you use it to invest in a business or to buy an asset that's going to grow rather than one that's going to depreciate. And that's another conversation we can have next week. So just a couple of things just on the changes here on the deadlines. 4th of July, you submit the group project there, and we'll have the face-to-face next week in the classroom. Then you have the quiz the week after, which will cover all the material up to finance. It won't cover branding at all, okay? And I'm really conscious that students who are remote will sooner rather than later may want the opportunity to have a chat with me as they're developing their group topic. So although it's a little bit tight, as soon as the quiz has finished, and probably even before the quiz is finished, because a lot of people finish early. I don't want to put any pressure on people to finish the quiz early, though. I want them to take the time and use it. But around the end of the quiz time, I will open up Zoom here and people can drop in and ask a question. And if we don't have enough time to cover it, I'll schedule another Zoom drop-in session, which will be on the Thursday or the Friday next week. But we'll see, that's probably enough time for people to talk. Okay, and then on the 9th of June, we'll have face-to-face drop-in session. Again, you can talk about your group work and particularly, effectively what I have in mind is you've got that large classroom there. So it's a very good place for groups to be able to meet because everyone is available at that time. Because you're all enrolled in the course, of course, so no one's got any excuses. So the face-to-face groups can meet in the classroom and then I'm going to be right there. And so you can say, oh, no, and I can come and help, resolve issues if you have them between your group members about the direction you're going. And then similar kind of thing on the 16th, but it'll be virtual. 23rd, it'll be face-to-face again. The 30th, I've just got the quiz. I haven't planned anything else. If need be, we can do something virtual as well. And then the group project will be on the 4th. For those of you wondering, on the 7th of July, where I'm going to be presenting a case study to you, but it's going to be interactive as well because it impacts so much on yourselves. I'm really going to talk about all the dirty truths of education as a business, some of which you've already figured out. And a very mixed story on universities. Some people universities think universities just in it for the money, which is not really true. They act like a business in some ways, but the logics are rather difficult to generalize in simple business terms. But you know, there are elements of self-interest and whatnot. So I will talk about that in comparative perspective. I plan to do it face to face, but the dreaded high flex, we will simultaneously stream that for people who are off campus. I'll have a go at doing that in the big classroom. I've already been doing that with the mixed success for the Zemi, which is, you know, obviously much smaller scale, and the technical issues are, well, I get the technical issues. It's just simply that I really need to have lots of arms, like the Indian god Shiva, goddess Shiva. There's just so many variables kind of happening, but I plan to do that in dual mode and hopefully to do effective recording capture as well, so that it'll be video on demand as well. Then on the 14th, I'm going to be doing a review of what I think are the insights that we draw across all of the 22 projects that will be done. Okay, and then we'll have final review and conclusions in the last week. In that case, you'll see that there's no particular mode there because that's just simply the quiz. So I will have a pre-recorded discussion of conclusions and review that will go up well in advance. And so the quiz will relate to that. So I'll try and give that to you well in advance, but I'm not going to ask any really tough questions very specifically on that. So more the quiz, which will be only 20 questions rather than 30. We'll look at some of the big kind of issues, and most importantly, it will look at a bunch of case studies. I'm going to put, it's not really clear on the project, on the schedule, but around the project, I'm going to be giving you some other examples of industry case studies. We've already had a couple up front. So we can think of case studies as this extra kind of stream of content running throughout the semester. So the final quiz will really be related to the case studies, not in a really micro kind of way, more in terms of what kind of conclusions can we draw from particular case studies around all the different things that we've covered throughout the semester, all the different functional areas of business. So kind of stitching it together, okay, as a broad kind of overview. It will take multiple choice format, but the questions won't be very, you know, precise. They'll be very kind of broad, judgmental, you know, which is, you know, in this particular case study, what was the, of the different functional areas, what was their primary challenge? You know, was it a branding challenge? You know, was it a financing challenge? Was it a risk challenge? You know, for example. So if kind of you're familiar with the case study, it'll be quite easy to do. I like to finish it on a kind of a nice note. I don't want to make it too nasty at the end. Okay. Right. Now onwards and upwards, just so everybody knows exactly where we are with things laid out on the website on Moodle. I'll very quickly just show that. If it will display. You can see it yourselves, and probably some of you have already got it open. Okay, but I've put the project description right at the top. Schedule revised is there, and then the assessment overview is revised. So the revisions on the assessment overview, the only differences are the change in the due date to later for the group quiz, and then those kind of micro changes in the schedule. So there's no other dramatic change. Most importantly, there are absolutely no changes to the quiz times, which is the critical thing you need to kind of plan around. So remember, quiz 2 and quiz 3 will have 30 questions each. The final quiz will have 20, and the content of the next quiz will cover the material up to next week, up to finance. So up until the week before the quiz actually happens. We're always looking in the rear view mirror. Okay. The questionnaire thing you did and the previous quiz, it's still on Moodle. I've just gone in and just hidden it from you guys because it's just getting cluttered. It's not relevant anymore. So as you've done things and people no longer need to access them, I will hide them. If anyone wanted to revisit the quiz, if they didn't PDF the or just review their answers, let me know and I can unhide it because you couldn't access it now. I was assuming everyone would have done that, but if not, I can undo that if you just let me know. Okay, so now let's go over and talk about information risk and uncertainty.
Excuse me.
Yes, yes.
I have a question about the group.
Yep.
When will we know the group
When we
members?
know the groups. Oh yeah. Sorry. I forgot to say the most elementary thing. Yeah. Forgive me. Well, it kind of depends on people getting back to me really, really quickly. So thank you. Of course, that's the most elementary thing. Thank you, Sean. So Friday, I'm hoping to launch it. I would say tomorrow, but actually tomorrow is going to be really, really hectic. We have the Cured UK, and the one thing I was going to mention I forgot was one of my big distractions the last couple of days has been because I'm currently involved with the curriculum committee. The old story of everyone. It was a battle to the death with silence for someone to volunteer to be the chair of the committee, and I'm someone who can't stay silent, or worse and worse, probably for my sake and everyone's. And eventually I agreed to be committee chair. And as everybody who is second year knows very painfully, study abroad looks like, well, no, it's not going to happen. Unfortunately, study abroad is not going to happen from this coming fall. So we've got a whole bunch of kind of significant kind of curriculum implications. So lots of internal discussions and deliberations that I'll be doing that pretty fulsomely until tomorrow. And then hopefully tomorrow night, but probably not. I'll probably pass out. I've hardly slept this week. And that's why I switched from water to Red Bull. I think Friday. I'll have a sleep on Thursday night, and on Friday, make sure I get those groups properly assigned. And that means I'm also, what I'm going to be doing is setting up little forum channels in Zoom. So you've got the let me see how I say this. At the top of the page here in Moodle, there will be a link which will be to a forum, and the members will be only the members of your group. Okay, so you can interact amongst yourselves, and no other group members will be able to see it. So you can make a connection with each other there. It means those groups that are going to go fully online, they can, as soon as you know your group members and that's set up, you can make contact with each other, so you can get talking amongst each other if you like, even over the weekend. And then we'll have the face-to-face session next week. Ideally, group members would already connect with themselves, virtually before that. But if not, then at least in class. One thing, a bit of a warning on this, I'll be really, really transparent about what data we get and what data we don't get. The professor responsible for a course, we get the data on actions, the number of actions that each student makes in a class forum. And my experience to date shows that there are some group members who'll do 50 or 60 kind of actions over over the forum, and some 0, 1, 2, 3. Hi guys, back again. I see Zoom completely crashed in fact, it's I have a theory. I realized I was talking there for a little bit, and you weren't actually, I think, getting it. It's completely crashed out. Don't worry. I will briefly repeat what I've said. I'm actually on my laptop now, and you can. I'm going to reboot my iMac here and restart it because I've got the classic color wheel of death. I'll show you. You might as well get a virtual view of my office, okay? Seeing I've got a camera in hand. Okay, that's my office, and I'm going to make you seasick. Okay, and zooming up the wheel of death. Okay, damn. Oh, I hate this. Okay. Oh, just bear with me just a minute or two. It's much better to run off the big one because I've got a proper camera and mic. I'll show you my setup. So, but anyway, yeah, the entire computer has hung spectacularly, and I think I know the reason. But you don't care. You just want it to restart. Okay, I haven't had this for years, and this is the second time it's happened in 2 weeks. And my working hypothesis is that Zoom sometimes gets messed up with the touchpad, the Apple touchpad. That if I've moved my finger across it in a swipe function or something, it seems to freeze it, particularly if I'm scrolling a PDF or something. So I suspect that's what happened. So anyway, I'll go back to what I was saying, because I'm not sure how far you were with me. Maybe I'll sit in my comfortable chair for a moment. My chateau chair. Okay, and wait for my computer to restart there. So the what I will set up individual forums for each group in Zoom. And once I send an email to the class saying that all your groups have been launched, and I expect to do that on Friday, then you'll be able to go into Moodle, not into Zoom. You'll be able to go into Moodle, and at the top of the class feed, there will be a forum link, and you go into that, and automatically the members will be limited to just your group members. So you'll be able to go, hi guys, looking forward to working with you. Cheers, Joe and Mary, and other people will be able to interact there. Now, you can keep your interactions completely within Moodle if you like, but for many of you, maybe it will be easier to take it to a different device. A lot of people resort to Line or WhatsApp or something like that, because obviously the messaging on the phone with its own app is so much better. If we had a really good Moodle app, maybe that would be okay. But given the shaky Moodle interface, I suspect that even an app wouldn't work so well. And we already have a proliferation of them anyway. I think people are just constantly struggling with getting things seriously through WhatsApp, Messenger, WeChat, a whole bunch of different apps. Now, my iMac is still through a process of rebooting, and I'd rather run it from there, but I will run part of the class from here while I'm waiting for that to happen. Let me go straight over to the slide set because it's going to be stable. It's not depending on the camera. I'm just going to pull up the slides on a different device. I'll go back to my chair. Dear me. Oh, hang on. Maybe in business, the iMac was even quicker than I thought. I never shut the thing down.